How are you?
It's Yamoussa.
Oui, Yanusa.
Oui, Mali.
Mali, ça va bien?
Oui, ça va, Molly? Bonjour.
Ça va bien, merci. Bienvenue.
Merci.
Tony is there. Hi, Tony. Tony,
Hi, how are you, Molly?
I'm good. How was the seminar?
It was amazing, wonderful.
I had good feedback from it. Thank you so much for being such an important part of that seminar.
Thank you. You're welcome. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share with the participants.
Yeah, that was, you know, we're getting ready to have people from the Omo Valley in Ethiopia who are coming. Who's talking?
It's Kayla.
Maybe you should. Can you, yeah.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much and welcome to the first Conversations with Molly. I'm going to do a little bit housekeeping, but we're going to give 3 more minutes for people to come into the room so that we have more people in the room and we don't leave anyone out. Hi, Karina.
Hi, everyone. Hope all is.
Hi.
Bonjour,
Hi.
bonjour. Salam alaikum. How are you all?
Hi. Hello. So we're going to put a few housekeeping rules on the screen as people join and say hello.
Oh, screen sharing, okay.
So welcome to Conversations with Molly. We are going to put together some of our housekeeping rules so that we're clear. We have translation available. Feel free to reach us in the chat if you're having translation issues or if you're not hearing what's happening. This session is recorded and it's going to be made available to all registered participants. Okay, so the topic for today is how adopting a community-led approach to cost-effective programming. The essence, let me explain the essence of this topic. The essence is how Molly started. People have been asking a lot of questions. Why community-led approach? Why Tostan? What kept you going? What did you learn? Why are you doing this? What is the driving factor? Today is the start of different sessions to be able to share with you little bits. I'm sure a lot of you have read books, articles, research around the work that Molly has done. This is a one-on-one session that gives you the opportunity to ask questions that you've pondered about since you've been reading those books, since you've been reading the articles, since you've been coming to the TTC, since you've been partnering with us. So relax, listen, participate, share, learn, and have a fun time. As you join us, please introduce yourself in the chat, put your name, your organization, some other thing you want to let us know about you or your work. Connect with other people. Feel free to directly message people that you have similarities with, you found in the chat, or that you have reconnected with after such a long time. We're going to structure this in an interview style. We would have a moderator who would be asking Molly questions, and then we take breakout session for about 15 minutes to ponder on the things that we have heard, to reflect, think about it, come up for more questions. We're going to take live participatory questions. So again, feel free, use the chat if your audio is not working well. Reach out to me on WhatsApp if you need any information. Information for reaching out with me on WhatsApp is in your registration detail. Okay, so we all know Molly, but I mean, we all know Molly, but I'm going to tell you a little bit. So Molly has been in Senegal since 1974. That was way before I was born. You know, just saying. And through her work, she has supported thousands of communities to achieve transformative social change through Tostan, even before Tostan became formalized, right? And she has engaged in groundbreaking educational programs. What Molly would call African education. She is on the board of directors. She represents the interests of Tostan participants, staff, partners to ensure the vision and philosophies of this organization. So Molly we call her Amy Molly, but Molly has written However Long the Night. If you haven't read this book, right? If you have not read this book, my personal advice from personally reading it is to get that book. It is like taking a short MBA course. So this is not a marketing brief, but I'm just saying, if you haven't read it, you should try your best to read it. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a moderator. And the person who is going to be moderating this session is none other than our own Majuma. We all call her Majuma. So Majuma is a seasoned sociologist, a community developer, a presenter, a speaker. Majuma is excellent. If you have met Majuma, you can attest to her passion. You can attest to the way she approaches issues. She's the executive director of Msikana Empowerment Courier in Kenya, where she works to safeguard young women and girls and to work hard to give them an equitable future and recognition in all aspects of life. She believes that her mission is to cultivate self-sufficiency and empowerment among girls and women, fostering a society where they are respected, empowered, and they are integral agents of social change. I'm going to repeat our housekeeping rules so that we're a little bit clear. Raise your hand if you want to speak, right? Mute your microphone when you're not speaking. These are our norms, the norms that guide our conversations. Drop messages in the chat at any time. And again, this is your community call. Your ideas, your thoughts, any information you want to share with us is very much welcome. I'm going to stop here and hand over to Majuma. Majuma, over to you.
Thank you so much, Nana, for your impressive introduction. And I want to take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of us for this lovely live conversation with Molly. I'm really thrilled as an alumni of Tostan and also someone who met Molly in my mid-20s. So it is really an honor, and good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are streaming us in from. And feel free, this is a safe space for you to share our learning and also what you really feel it's passionate you really need to share with Molly. Take this opportunity. And welcome, Molly. And I just jump into our first thrilling question with you. Feel free to stop me if I'm talking very fast. So Molly, back to you. Many of us on this call have already met you and been with you at the Tostan Training Center in Thais. We learned so much about you and Tostan during that time. But today it is really a rare opportunity, and thank you so much for honoring this call and also the need of the community and our members that we interact with to have this question. I would really love it if you could tell us more about what inspired you to found Tostan and to promote a basic education in national language for girls and women. could you give us some ideas of the journey that led you to found Tostan way back? As Nana has shared, that was way back in 1991, should be 33 years ago. So feel free to share this with us. We really, really are looking forward to hearing from you. Karibu, welcome.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Nana. Thank you, Majuma. And it's such a joy and thrill to see so many of you that I know so well and others that I don't know. Some who are staff, others who came to the TTC, the Tostan Training Center, even way back in 2015 when we first started these sharing seminars. So it's such a joy for me to be here with you today and to share with you some of my past experience. I have shared some of that, but maybe I will share a bit more today. Maybe some things that I've been thinking a lot about recently about this journey. I've been 50 years now in Senegal, so it's a time for reflection. Because when I came in 1974, I came as a student at the University of Dakar, so eager to learn all about Africa, to learn about African culture. And when I first came, I spoke French. I was a French major at the University of Illinois. So I thought, oh, I can go to Senegal and I can relate with everyone, talk to them, learn about them. Wow, I had a big awakening when I arrived because so many people did not speak French. And I was surprised. And then I became more and more interested in learning about Senegal. It was such a joyful experience to be here and to meet with such interesting, kind, generous people who were opening their doors to me, inviting me to lunch, and right away, it was very exciting. But I realized soon that a lot of the people I wanted to talk to did not speak French. And so I really started learning Wolof fervently, going to class. And I went to a month or two to get the basic readings, but then really delved into it. And my journey in the university led me to meeting people like Cheikh Anta Diop, whom I think you all have heard of. You know him from what I have said in the past, who had a huge influence on me. And I also, really my dearest friend in Senegal was Carrie Sembène, who was married, her name is Carrie Nyang now, but she was married to Ousmane Sembène, and I was very close to Carrie, and I used to spend weekends with this famous African filmmaker, very well known internationally. And I can say I was extremely lucky. I arrived 14 years after independence in Senegal. And here I was able to spend lots of time with people like Ousmane Sembène and Cheikh Anta Diop, listen to them, ask questions, delve deeper into the culture, try to better understand. And they had such an impact on me. And I was thrilled that I learned Wolof because that was very important to them. I think that you all know that Cheikh Anta Diop was a fervent defender of national languages. He really believed that language was a vehicle for culture. And he believed that people needed to know and value their culture and their cultural heritage, and all of the positive aspects of the culture that would, inspire people and make them realize how valuable the indigenous knowledge is, how valuable the indigenous wisdom, and that they can be proud of their past, they can be proud of their heritage. And the thing that I was interested in with Cheikh Anta also was that he not only felt that the past was important and their heritage from Egypt as a great civilization, but it was also that you could be nurtured and inspired by your past to build an African-inspired future. In fact, when I'm thinking about this and what I've been thinking about this recently, I have come to call, instead of calling Tostan a non-formal education program, really prefer calling it now an African-inspired education program. Why do I say that? Because through that journey of working with people like Usman and with Cher Anta, and then being able to go to a community and working with particularly women and girls who'd never been to school. No one in the community had been to school, but to see how much people wanted to learn. And that my experience before going to the village had been in a children's center where we had done everything in Wolof and national languages and a radio program. So I was able immediately to try to work with them, collaborate with them to find out what did they want to learn? What were their goals in life? What were their goals for their community? That was the beginning of all the work that Tostan does now. You all who came to the center know that we put a big emphasis on starting by listening to people, asking them what their vision is for the future. And that was very, very important because from that, I just learned so much. Made mistakes. I was there 3 years in that community, working together with them to try to respond to their great desire to learn more, but in their own national language, which was Wolof. And so this, led us, because the people from Samanjai who learned and could read and write in Wolof and who learned in Wolof, we're the ones who then eventually, as our program became better known and what we were doing in Sam became visited, people were coming from other places and they said, well, this is really interesting. You're really using African cultural methodology. You're to really awaken people's desire for learning and motivation to go beyond just learning to read and write in Wolof, but also to look at how they could, build on what they have learned and start working on actually realizing or achieving this vision that they had created together. So this is how we started actually Tostan. So I had been in Senegal 16 years before I started Tostan. I was 40 years old. I came when I was 24. I'm almost 75 now. So this is a big year, 50 years, 75 years old, and have just learned so much throughout this journey. I would say that from Cher Anta also, I guess at the time we never talked about decolonizing education. That's a word that's being used a lot now, decolonizing education. But that's really what he was talking about. What he was saying to me was, look at the education system. That education system came from the colonizers of this country. And the values and the goals of the French society are very different from our society, from Africa. He wrote the Unity of African Culture. He believes that this culture, being a collectivistic culture, is very different from the individualistic culture where it's so important to listen to people. And somebody talking. And to really listen to people, that it was really important to understand that the goals of people particularly in the rural and remote African communities that were particularly at that time, there were no schools, very few. And there were few teachers and they were all teaching in French in communities where nobody spoke French, really. And so this made him very, very sad that without the language, which vehicles your culture and gives you pride and motivation, and you learn very, very quickly. In fact, you know, I always quote him, you know, as saying that when you bring in, you know, another culture, it's like you really restrict the learning process of a child. But even as adults, if you want to get people involved in a dialogue that will bring about their vision of the future and their ways of working together to achieve those goals, you cannot do it in another language, particularly when people don't master that language. And so that, you know, was very important within the program. But also, you know, going back and building on indigenous knowledge, so important. When you think about why Tostan is having impact in ending harmful traditional practices, of course, we think of Demba Jawara. Listening to those people who have all of this indigenous knowledge about how things can change, how this can come about. And they're the ones who know, such that coming from within rather than without has made such a huge impact in our program. And it's not just Demba Jawara. I can point to so many women, youth, and religious leaders who have so impacted our program. And one thing that Cher Anta always emphasized is to evolve. I mean, he wasn't stuck in the past. He said he wasn't against French, learning in French and English. He knew how important that was in the modern world, but just felt that the beginning needs to be in your own language, how important that is, and maintaining the values of the culture. Maintaining those values in a world that is having so many problems today, that he believed, and I believe too, and I always have, that we can learn so much from Africa, from African culture, from African values, values that we have lost in the West so much. And I really, this is why I have always been excited about our program. It's why being able to do our program in 3 years and the communities where we work, having those 3 years to really allow women who have never been to school, who dropped out early, who didn't succeed in school, but who succeeded incredibly well in their own language and have become leaders, who are now on the district council, who are the coordinators of the community management committee, who are standing up, who have a voice, who can express themselves and truly participate in the debates around what our future is going to be. So that is perhaps just a few words. I don't want to keep going on. I would rather now just allow Majuma for you to invite people to ask any questions or give feedback in the breakout rooms, just to hear their thoughts about that. What do you think about African-inspired education instead of non-formal education? It's so negative, non-formal, and it's not formal. It's fun. It's participatory. It's listening. It's encouraging people. It's not hitting them with a big yellow ruler when they make a mistake. And it's joyful. It's dancing. It's singing. It's poetry. It's all the things that that women particularly respond to, relate to, and learn with the skits, the dramas. I just would love to hear what other people think about an approach that is like this, African inspired.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Molly. That was really insightful. And actually, from your conversation, we are taking it in that it is very important to understand the value of the community, their social norm, understanding their culture, and also just nurturing their past instead of saying that, you know, your past is really horrible, it's traumatizing, and all those sorts of words. And these are really coming out strongly. And with those, I believe that it is time that each and every one of us, I believe, are so happy and thrilled to ask so many questions. So we have this opportunity that we are going to go into breakout rooms, breakout sessions, which we are going to divide ourselves into groups, and we'll be able to unpack what Molly has said so far. What are your thoughts on African-inspired education and other issues she raised? In what ways have your education led you to devalue your own culture or cultural values? So I'll invite Nana to, yes,
Could I
Molly,
just
go
say
ahead.
one thing? In French, I don't know how it's being translated, but in French we say éducation inspirée par la culture africaine. It's the way we are translating that, because African inspired, I love, but in French it was a bit difficult, but Cher Anta believed in the cultural unity of Africa, and it's so éducation inspirée par la culture, which goes way beyond just the cultural elements and methodologies, but just the whole worldview. So I really think that is the best translation in French. Inspiré par la culture.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. So Nana is going to take lead to take us to the breakout sessions, and we'll
Yes.
be able to unpack this. Karibu sana, Nana, welcome. Merci,
Thank you very much, Majuma. The rooms are open now. Feel free to join any of the rooms. There are 2 French rooms and 6 English rooms. Please join according to your language. We aim to keep the rooms at a capacity of 5 to 7 persons. If you have any challenges, again, please let me know.
Nana, how long are we going to take in the rooms? Kindly
The
share
rooms
that.
we're going to take 10 minutes in the room.
All right, thank you.
And how do I sign up?
You can select any room, but I will put people in rooms now so that they can move.
All right. Thank you for that.
Oh, so I'm in a room now? Hello? Hello?
I think you're gonna stay out here for a minute.
I'm putting people in rooms.
Oh, I see. Okay.
They're not moving on their own, so I'm just putting people in rooms.
That's a good idea.
Présentation du Evelina Kessel. Présentation de Evelina Kessel. Il y a 3 autres. 2 autres.
Nene Taco.
Emmanuel, I see Emmanuel. There's no one in my room. You're muted, Nana. There was no one
Molly,
in
the rooms are filling up slowly, so that's
Really?
some of them
Okay.
have one person, and then there'll be others that get added. Yeah.
I can't find you to send you back to the room, Molly. Go back. Ganon, you haven't joined any room. And can you all help me assign people to rooms? Molly, which room do you want to go to?
I don't have any idea. I don't know.
I think you should go back to the room I put you in before.
You put me in a French speaking room.
Okay, I put you in an English one then. I've put you somewhere else.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like I need to put more people in French rooms. I mean, it's the same person anyway, so.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I believe we are still waiting for some of us who are still having these conversations. It's really interesting on what people are bringing up and how their own definition really looks like as we await to hear from Molly and also to unpack those that came up within the different sessions. Thank you. Isabel, how was your room? Yes. Were you
hi.
in a
I was in the Gambian room.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
I felt very lucky. It was a great room.
Thank you. Nana, could you confirm if everyone is back?
Yeah, everyone is back. Please mute yourself.
Sorry, Nana.
You muted yourself.
Sorry. Please. Yes, everyone is back. Please mute yourself if you're not the moderator and the speaker. It's very helpful.
Thank you so much, and welcome back, each and every one of you. I think we'll give each one of us a few minutes to just share from what you heard from the various rooms before we invite Molly to hear from her own perspective. Nana, which group would you prefer to go first?
I would say we take one representative from each group. We start
Absolutely.
with yes.
We
do 3 English rooms, 1 French room, 3 English rooms, 1 French room. So
all right, perfect.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Anyone can volunteer to speak for their group.
Kindly raise up your hand whenever you want you want to speak or to share your views from the various rooms. As we wait for other members to gain momentum, Isabel, would you be happy to share with us what your room? Yes, Agnes, go ahead. Agnes, unmute yourself.
Il est 12h40.
Hello?
Hello, Agnes. Can you hear us?
40.
I think your connection may be having some issues.
Okay.
All right. As we wait for Agnes, Isabel, could you kindly share with us what you learned from your room?
Definitely. Thank you. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Yeah, I would say Emily was our sort of our room moderator, so I'm not sure if she wants to jump in here.
Yeah,
Emily, are you?
No, I'm happy for you to go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. Sure. Thank you so much. We talked a lot about language and how in schools the language was policed. And sort of which language people valued as being a more official, quote unquote, language, and then a language that was less valued. And also, it was interesting because Emily, you said you studied anthropology, so I did as well. And it was really interesting, like listening to the terminology in class where they would say dialect and then they would say language, and it really, the distinction never made any sense. And I haven't thought about that in a long time. And so it brought that thinking back as well, because in class it was always a bit of a, okay, well, I guess that's the term they're using. But yeah, no, it doesn't make sense. So that's what I learned from my room.
Thank you so much for sharing. That is really coming out loud, especially even from the room I'm coming from. So I will be happy to invite another room. Sheikh Mohammed. Sheikh, kindly unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Majuma. So in our group, we talk a lot about Western education and its impact on our culture in terms of like devaluing how we actually look at our own culture in so many ways, because we discussed how we would love to have education that is grounded in African perspective, that attach more values to how Africa and see themselves and how they appreciate and their own kind of and their culture. Rather than like the Western culture has its different ways of how it portrays education and what it means to be intelligent and not intelligent, because people, you have to be able to speak very good English in order for other people to see you as intelligent. Also, you also have to be like, when you communicate with a Westerner, you have to be looking directly into the face of this individual, of a Westerner, to explain or to confirm that you are being honest. So why is in our African culture, invading directly looking into the eyes of an elderly person actually means a lot, because it shows respect, but also it shows humbleness. So a lot of these kind of like a difference is how we are taking this different culture into our own culture and forgetting to even understand what our own culture is. So it's kind of like complicated across the board.
Thank you so much.
Lucy, Majuma, you are in this group, you can add.
Thank you so much. What you've really shared, I think, really touched much of what we shared as a group. I would love to invite another group to come in. Zainabu, are you ready? Zainab? Hello? All right. Do we have other groups that are coming? We've already have two
Majuma, so
speaking.
I can share a personal story, given that I'm not hearing, so that it can maybe get the juice going. So my mom does not have formal education, right? My mom did not go to the whole university, all of these things. And my mom is one of the most brilliant people you can meet. If you go to a farm or if you go out, my mom can tell you the names of leaves, what they're used for, how they work. She can tell you roots, herbs. My mom can give you she was a businesswoman all of my childhood, and she still does her business till now with efficiency. I mean, the way my mom handles negotiations, you would think that she learned in a Harvard type of education. But here's one thing. If my mother meets you, the first thing my mother says to you is, I'm an illiterate. I did not go to school. Because she has that idea that people who do not speak fluent English, who have not been to the standard formalized form of education in Nigeria, are regarded as illiterate. They're not intelligent and not qualified enough to sit in decision-making spaces. So it is this idea that I held that same idea for a very long time, until I started questioning why someone who speaks fluent English does not understand basic things. The first time I left Nigeria, I was shocked to realize that people who speak English are also illiterate. They do not understand the basic. They didn't know as much as my mom, but they speak English. So it was sort of a paradox for me. I was very confused. The first time my mother visited England, she was thoroughly disappointed because her expectations did not match the reality. She did not expect to see beggars. She did not expect to see dirty spaces, because we've been made to understand that eating with our hand is not a good thing. We should eat with a fork, a spoon, and a knife a certain way. She did not understand why the burgers that she ate at KFC ruined her entire stomach. Yeah. And she did not understand why African food was that expensive to access. And there were so many questions that ruined the realities for her. And that is the basis of me questioning a lot of things and realizing that we have been sold to believe that African-inspired things are lesser in value than Western-influenced items. So this is the basis of me listening, unlearning, relearning, and I'm hoping that as Molly continues to share more, we can take insights and question and reflect on some of the things that we're learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nana, for sharing that. And I believe that that brings us, I would say, like even for example, us when we begin sessions at the community level, we always reiterate and emphasize that English is just a language, but is not a way of gauging how intelligent you are or any other thing. So we encourage the community to understand that when whatever it is you have to share, it is easy even for you to share in your local native language, and someone else will interpret, because it's just a language like any other language. So we'll have to take Godfrey. I saw your hand up. Are you ready to speak? Then we have Raquel, and we can invite someone else from the French speaking. Yes, Raquel. We have 3 people, so we can at least speak as fast as we can, as for the interest of time, and then we'll invite Molly back to the session. Yes, Godfrey, are you ready, or we get Raquel first? Raquel,
no,
go.
I pass it. Let me pass it to Isa too. Yeah.
All right, welcome.
Super.
Isa, you're most welcome, and then we'll have Raquel.
Okay, bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour. Molly. Merci pour cette invitation. Donc, on a beaucoup apprécié le partage de Molly. Donc, dans notre groupe, on a plus partagé, on a plus discuté de l'importance des langues locales, donc à insérer dans le programme scolaire. Donc, comme l'a dit Oulare, par exemple, l'école n'est pas intégrée dans l'environnement de l'environnement. L'école n'est pas intégrée dans l'environnement culturel même de là où il est. Donc, on doit insérer les langues locales, les communautés. Nana?
Merci, Asatu. Nana, could you kindly help us with the translation?
Okay. Because I was asking if I can speak in French or in English.
Translation is
I was
working.
in a French class.
Just mute original audio and select English.
Nana?
Yeah, Isa too, the translation is working. So
Okay,
vous pouvez continuer en français.
En français, d'accord.
Oui.
D'accord. Donc, on a parlé de revoir le contenu qui est dans le curricula au niveau des écoles. Donc, et l'adapter aux valeurs culturelles, c'est-à-dire prendre en compte les réalités locales, donc insérer les langues locales dans le programme de l'enseignement. On a aussi parlé de renforcement des capacités sur le développement personnel et la confiance en soi. Donc, Selom a peut-être insisté sur le fait que auparavant, c'était l'éducation communautaire qui était privilégiée parce que chaque famille avait droit de regard sur l'enfant du voisin, de l'autre. Mais maintenant, avec les droits des enfants qu'on est en train de défendre, donc c'est devenu très difficile. C'est pourquoi on a suggéré de recadrer quand même tout ce qui est éducation formelle en rapport avec l'éducation culturelle. Donc, ce qui fera quand même un brassage qui va beaucoup servir aux communautés. Merci beaucoup.
Majuma.
Merci, Asatu. We'll have Raquel and then back to Molly. Raquel, are you ready?
Is this Rachel?
Yes, Rachel.
Oh, okay. Okay, so in our group, we talked about the importance of understanding or learning the tribe or the ethnic group, whatever the tribe, the group we are working with.
Thank you so much,
So,
Rachel.
for instance, are you getting me?
Yes, we are getting you. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes. So I was saying we discussed about the importance of learning the ethnic or the tribe of the group we are working with in order to work better in community. So I gave an example of myself, who is a Tiv-speaking person working in Igede land, and listening to Molly, I understood better what it means for you to be able to, first of all, understand the language, speak the language, and then integrate with the community you're working with. Because here in Africa, especially in Nigeria where I am, whenever you speak the language of someone, automatically the person sees you as a brother or sister and can integrate and then be able to rub minds with you and on the way forward for any project, whatever it is they want to do or you want to do, they are willing to work with you. But when you don't understand the tribe, you're just coming to speak in English and it seems like you are coming with a superior argument, then all they will do is they'll just wait for you. You bring whatever you want them to do. They may do it, but it's not, they don't own it. So I'll stop there.
Thank you so much, Rachel. And thank you so much, each and every one of us, for sharing, especially within our various break rooms, and also just coming here to share that. Yes, I can see there is a hand up.
No, sorry, that was a mistake. I meant to put an emoji and it didn't work.
All right. Thank you. So before we dive into the second question to Molly, I would really love to invite Molly if she really has something to wrap up with our plenary, and also just something that you need to share around the African-inspired education, and for us to also have the clarity, also the understanding of what really that meant for you, especially getting feedback from the team and every one of us who joined. How does that feel? Because this is like something that was really inspiring and intriguing. It triggered a lot of questions. Everybody would bring up what they really feel, how African inspired education seemed like, and how also the Western aspect of it was nurtured into their lives and how that made them feel. So before we go to our second question, Molly, I would really love you to have like a say or put in your input into our various feedback. Thank you. You're most welcome, Molly.
Thank you. Yes, I was in a group and listened to people from Sierra Leone talking about how the fact that going into school and learning in English that had a different emphasis on their worldview and what you were learning, and that was so far removed from the cultural realities of their community. And when they would go home, the parents were not speaking in English. And Nana also made that point at how it can divide people in a way to even think, well, what's wrong? Why don't my parents speak English? You know, and that's very sad, because it's so important that children can go to their parents and get help in school for what they are learning, and the parents feel pride in being able to support their children when they have problems. But this is why I just want to say, and I always do, I say, you know, we have to think about adults too, not just, you know, everybody's talking about let's send children to school. Let's send them. That's going to be the answer to development. You know, they will go to school, they will learn how to read and write, do math, be able to get a job and make money. What they don't realize is that by doing that, you are not really addressing the really deep underlying values and goals of an African society, where it's so important to talk about other things like, you know, looking at how can you, yes, learn all those things, but also think about those values that are important to the family, to the unity, to how we can all contribute in different ways to having a vision that is more human, more humanistic. It has a much more people-centered approach to what your life will be. It won't just be about making money and having a big house and having a car like in many societies. It will be, you know, how can we grow and perhaps not, you know, have enough economic, have enough financial resources to live a decent life. But yes, and how can we still maintain the family, the unity, the collaboration, the values of peace and well-being that people hold here? I think it's so important that we we just like the importance is put on girls and boys education, it should be put on adult education. And it's not just a training of 2 weeks or 6 months or 1 year. I mean, I just believe so strongly that African women and young women and grandmothers, and they deserve a 3-year education program that is African inspired, that allows them to flourish, to have a voice, to become leaders. And they are there. You know, we have thousands of women who become leaders now. But what is so important is that is influencing their children. Their children are seeing them being able to help them because they know how to read and write now. They can help with their classes with math. They see their parents learning and they're proud. They see their parents doing activities that respond to the needs of the community, that they see that that is possible. It's just so important. So I mean, I'm a big advocate of adult education, but one that is for the people that so many of you work with, that is African inspired, so that they feel that they can, as one woman said, I'll never forget, she said, when I come into the Tostan classroom, I take off my boo-boo of discretion and I can say what I think, I can stand up and I can rehearse and I can get better. And then when I go out in public, I'm not afraid anymore. You know, I can talk to people, I can participate, I can make a difference. And I just think that it's going to affect everybody, including especially the next generation of young people who would grow up valuing their language, their culture, and yet be open to other languages and other cultures. We're not saying that, but it's just, I think Anta believed in it so strongly. Usman Semben believed in it so strongly. The other people, I can name so many people. My village, the village chief in Samanjai, where I lived for 3 years, it was so important. And Demba Jawara and all these wonderful people from whom we've learned so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Molly. And that is really it's so inspiring, because I would say, like, for example, yesterday I had a case whereby a girl stays with her grandmother and she goes to school. But I was really surprised when the school approached us to say that the girl should go and stay in the school, yet she's the one who is staying with the grandmother. So for the school, it's more of the fact that the girl is really good. She's getting good grades. She's performing very well. So there's so much focused in the grades of this girl, and they're not focused on the fact on how this will affect her detaching from her grandmother. She's the only one taking care of this grandmother as much as she's going to school. So it is really, really important for us to understand what are the African also values, the good values that nurture our children and our generation. And this will bring us to the next question, Molly. And I believe you'll only have a maximum of 10 minutes for you to tackle our next question. I know that during your career during your career, you have been in many difficulties, I would say so. What strategies have you put in place to overcome these challenges? You know, coming from a foreign country into an African setting, you want to, like, you didn't plan, you didn't have any vision by that time or mission that this is what I need to do. So what are really the challenges that you went through, and how did you overcome these challenges? Because I'm really, really interested to know that, and also to learn from you, working from a community that I'm not born and bred in. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Majuma.
10 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Just to let you know that I have had many challenges. I have lots and lots of challenges over the years. Really, first, when I first came here, I had challenges in learning about the culture because I made lots of mistakes and I didn't understand. And there I will say it was only when I learned Wolof that I truly began to understand, you know, it's not me. I mean, excuse me, it's not them, it's me. And there's a Wolof proverb that says, you know, the chameleon changes color to match the earth. The earth does not change color to match the chameleon. And I really think that by learning Wolof, an African language, and I found that other African languages that I've tried to learn are very similar in their worldview, the way they put an emphasis on getting to know one another, the relational. And I just wanted to mention that, you know, that was one of the reasons that we found in our recent evaluations, they were very in-depth evaluations that showed that because Tostan put such an emphasis on creating those bonds of unity among the class, the participant, and then having them reach out and doing that and reinforcing the relational in the community and the levels of communication that's what everybody said, which was led them to be able to discuss on a deeper level of issues they'd never addressed before, bringing them to a point where they could talk about social change and make social change together. So, you know, that was the first thing I overcame, was learning the language, being able to really discuss and dialogue with people. And when I went to Saminjai, I made lots of mistakes, but since I don't have much time, I won't go into stories, but what I learned that the mistakes and problems and challenges that I faced really were ones of first programmatic, about developing a program that actually responded to the needs and priorities and the things that were really important to people. And there were mistakes made in that and needed to be overcome. There were, of course, organization problems, as in creating Tostan. We had any number of challenges that we were faced with, whether they were budgetary or staff, you know, things that if you're not used to and don't have experience with, they are very difficult to overcome, and it makes you stressed and worried a lot. So they were funding issues that we had challenges with, and board issues. There were so many different areas when you're in an organization, when you're leading an organization, that you need to deal with and that you will have challenges with. You will be making mistakes. So you said, how did I overcome them? And I thought about that. And I think, first of all, what helped me more than anything was just listening, first of all, listening really careful to people and listening to them, to what, again, this whole idea of visioning, what are their needs and priorities, and what are their values that may be different from my own. So I actually call that second stage sort of an empathic analysis. Empathy is really, I think, a big word at Tostan. Having an empathic approach to all the issues that we are confronted with, or that we address in our program, is first putting our feet in their shoes. Because when you go into a rural community, even if you're from Dakar and you're Senegalese and have grown up in Dakar, when you go into the village, you may find that people have a whole different a worldview and the whole different set of priorities than you might have, as having come from Dakar and having had a certain level of education. So really, just really trying to understand where they're coming from, first of all, before actually making any kind of decisions in terms of how can I in better set up a dialogue where I can ask them, not impose, but say, what do you think? What do you think? What do you think is really important? There is this issue, there's this problem. How can we solve this together? What do you think is working? What's positive? What needs to be improved? And what do we find together as a solution that might be possible? I mean, people could come up with solutions that are impossible, but maybe we can, you know, come to a consensus and make, you know, some can find a consensus around in the middle ground, if you like. And so all of that has been really important all through the years that I have, the 27 years I was CEO, in all those different areas that I mentioned. but also I guess, keeping in mind the values that Demba Jawara always said were so necessary, being as respectful as possible, having courage to confront things that personally, I thought I couldn't. If you had told me when I was, 25 coming to Senegal that I would be faced with some of the situations I've been faced with people demonstrating, burning tires, saying you are not going to go out and talk to those women. You do, and you bring your delegation of people, and it could be your life. Who would have dreamed, And how did we solve that issue? When that happened to us, years ago, when people were afraid that we had come to talk to the women and have them, they thought that the women were going to declare they were going to abandon a deeply embedded practice of the FGC, the female genital cutting. What did we do? We invited them in to discuss. We said, come in, let us talk, please. And not get upset and just say, please come in, sit down and have a discussion with us. These people who were acting very violently. And they actually came in and we said, do you know what our program is about? Do you know what we're teaching, what we're facilitating in the classroom is dialogue? And do you know that they are aligned with your values and your religion? And would you like to go through the program? And we set up a class for those people who were out there demonstrating, burning tires, angry. And I think things like that are important to keep in mind, to be courageous and say, there are ways forward. Demba always says, "Fit hel yar." So respect, going in with a certain amount of analytics, critical thinking skills, and thinking and again, I think it would mean together, so that you're inclusive, being inclusive, and then yar is that respect and diplomacy is the yar is just the way you approach people. That's so important. So in 10 minutes, I can say those were things that were very critical to my learning journey and my being able to overcome some of the challenges that I had to deal with.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think that what is really coming out strongly is more of much as you already sat down, thought, and figured out how this would look like, but then you thought it was like really important to include the community, to understand their priority areas, to understand what are their needs and their value. So, sometimes it's very important to just understand what is the other perspective of the other team on the other side. So this is really a very brief 10-minute summary, which really is a good take home for each and every one of us, I believe so. And this will bring us to the next question before we wrap up in the interest of time. It is really interesting and amazing with the work that you've done for the last 30 years plus, and also the approaches, the models that some of us have really adopted into our various community. So this will bring us to the next question, and I'm really, really happy to ask you, how can we as a community become more intentional? Because it's one thing to do something just for the sake of doing it, and it's another thing when you're so intentional and effective at sharing your experience, expertise, and fostering engagement in a way that enhances true learning and adoption in our current world. So when we look at current worlds, I would say, like, for example, most of us are alumni, most of us are trying to learn from Tostan, most of us are looking forward to the Tostan training. So what are these key aspects that you'd really share with us that are really intentional and effective within, like, fostering an engagement in a community?
You want me to talk about that now or after?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well, when we have our training seminars, I always say to people, be careful, because you all know that recently we've been doing a presentation called psychological reactance. And psychological reactance means that sometimes when you're excited about something, so excited that you really want it to happen, You want to make change, you believe in it, it's important, this is great, then you go back and you get resistance. And why do you get resistance? You have to, again, the empathic approach. People have been doing things for many years in a certain way, and they believe in what they're doing. And so when you come in with new ideas, we talk about this in so many different ways, in different aspects, whether it be in the organization, in the communities we work in, our partner communities, the way we talk to our children, that by going in and saying, we have to do this, we must do this, we should be doing this, you're immediately going to get a reaction. And often it's a negative one, it's a defensive one. People will say, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? And you're telling me what to do. And so we always say, be very careful the way you present what you have learned. When you go back into your organizations, be sure you say, we've been, bring out what is so positive about what we're already doing. But also, this is what you have learned, that maybe, what do you think? Again, we come back to that question. What do you think? What do you think about this? And rather than saying, we should be doing this. Oh, why aren't we doing this? That kind of thing, which will lead to a definite reaction, which is not always the one you want. And sometimes we have seen this in the field when people go into communities and they say to people, you must stop this. This is bad. This is, they are not understanding why people are practicing. They're not taking into account that this has great value for the community, and that it really must involve a whole other way of approaching, a whole other way of going about setting up, opening doors to dialogue is what I always like to say, so that people can discuss and weigh the positive and the negative. What we always call the deliberation of between their deeper values of health and well-being and peace and unity and flourishing, and then sort of deliberate, what is that in relation to our practices? In relation to our practices, is this really going to help us to achieve our deeper values, their religious values? Health is, and peace is, and unity and family, and people being able to flourish. Those are all very deep African values. So how can we now say whether, but that is a whole process that you go through. And it's the same whether you're bringing back information to your family, to your organization, to the communities in which you work. We say, be aware of that and be very gentle, diplomatic. This, again, going back to Demba, going in, being diplomatic, respectful, non-judgmental, and opening doors to dialogue. I think this is really, really, really important.
Wow, that is very rich, and thank you so much for sharing. I believe each and every one of us was able to learn one or two things. I'll hand it over to Godfrey to kindly check if we have any questions for Molly, or if there is something someone has shared in the chat box. And before that, the floor is really open for each and every one of you. Kindly raise up your hand if there is something you want to share directly before we wrap up our session today. Thank you. Feel free to raise up your hand. Let me see if
people turn on their videos. It would be really nice to see people too.
Yeah.
I only see 2 people.
Kindly raise up your hand.
Yeah,
Godfrey, help me,
everybody.
If we are able to check.
Yeah, thank you, Majuma. And thank you, Molly, for always inspiring us. You're really amazing. I always love listening to you, and I never get bored. I hope everyone else here too. Thank you, Ganan, for that amazing comment, that you just wrote on the box, on the chat. So now the floor is open for anyone who has any comments, any submission, any question for Molly. Please feel free, raise your hand. Yeah.
There is a hand from Agnes. Agnes, kindly unmute yourself and go ahead.
Super.
Bonjour tout le monde. You have something.
Vous m'entendez?
Oui.
D'accord. Et je voudrais sincèrement dire merci à Madame Molly pour l'expérience, pour son partage d'expérience surtout, parce que l'année dernière, j'ai été à Tostan avec la délégation de Global for Children, parce que nous travaillons avec cette organisation. Donc, nous étions allés pour un partage d'expérience, pour avoir l'expérience de cette brave dame que malheureusement, je n'ai pas eu la chance de rencontrer parce que son histoire m'a beaucoup inspirée. Je suis aussi fondatrice de l'ONG que je dirige. Et l'ONG a vu le jour après la crise que nous avions traversée pendant la crise de 2002. Donc, je dis vraiment merci à Molly pour son engagement. Et nous puisons, surtout moi, je continue de puiser ma force en ces idées. Et je me dis que vraiment, le combat, il est noble. Je lui dis vraiment merci. Les mots vraiment me merci.
Merci, Agnès.
Merci, Agnès. I'll take in Lamifa, then other three people before we invite Molly to respond. Yes, Lamini?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon to you all. I think Molly, your presentation is quite in depth, and again also to having gotten feedback from the group discussions. I keep on reflecting on the realities on the ground, and I always reflect on the fact that, when we had the training in chess, we always have the issue of one of the components that we discussed was why do we have our programs, our intervention has been failing since we start all these development programs. And again, I think one thing that will come out again from this discussion is the fact that how do we align what we want to do with the cultural concept, the contextualization of what we want to do. And the current realities again have indicated the fact that yes, the more we concentrate more on what we have as the level of formal education, bearing in mind or trying to downplay the fact that, well, what we are doing has not been quite a way of civilization, and the new information, the new way of learning, the formal way of learning is kind of like has defined you as a person who is at another level of society. Quite will always bring the issue of what conflict. And again, you have the individual values, the norms and values of communities against the norms and values of communities. How do we work around to make sure that, yes, we align and then we move on? And we're going to have a better approach other than what we are now discussing. So this is just my contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fatih, for that contribution. We really, really do appreciate. I'll give it to Sheku. Sheku, kindly unmute yourself. Sheikh Mohammed. All right, as Sheku is preparing, can we kindly have Nicodemus Samson? Your hands are up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Thank you. My is to send my regards and appreciation to Molly for doing wonderfully in impacting communities, especially during our last participation. I was able to be in person there in Senegal. I was able to receive a lot of inspiration from her and which has increased our impact our community, being the prison community here in Nigeria. We have made quite a number of impacts since we returned from that training. We have gained relationship with
Nicodemus, we can't hear you well. I don't know if it is your net connection. We can't hear you well. Yeah.
He said he's made a lot of impact he works in the prisons in Nigeria, and he took back a lot of learning from that, and has really used some of the learnings from the training that he did when he was in Senegal at the Tostan Training Center, the 10-day training that he was in. Yes, Samson, I was so happy to hear all the results you're having. Yeah, congratulations on that work. It's so important.
Yeah, thank you so much for your feedback, Nicodemus. I'll welcome Amos Leuka. Amos, kindly unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and greeting all from Loita Hills, Kenya. We are one of the community that benefited from the Tostan training. We actually the pioneers of 2015. And when we come back to our community, we use the knowledge we gain from there to bring positive change to our community. We are actually able to do one of the very, very unique declaration. I think we are the first to do it in our area or in Maas Island. And we see a lot of impact because we use many approach, like Molly has put it, that we have to be respectful, we have to be not judgmental, we have to be the people who really understand the people culture. So actually we use our culture, we appreciate the knowledge we have as a community, and we are able to bring that information and to the level where the community were able to appreciate a collective shift. And recently in our well-being summit again, we are able to share the knowledge and how we can further transform our community through social change and well-being, which is a new way of surprise from the back. So actually, we feel that Tostan has been really an organization that is leading us through their model of community-led model, and also the Africa inspiring learning. It really brings the knowledge, the people knowledge to the table, and it also gives people from understanding from the known to unknown, because you use the knowledge of the people and inspire the people. We actually have, as Nana put it in her first conversation, that we gain the knowledge from our parents. We see people who are not able to read English, or they are not able to read any language, but they have a very rich knowledge of African content on how we can approach situation, how we can bring a relevant change, and how we can inspire community through our own languages and culture. So I believe this is a very good platform for us to appreciate ourselves, appreciate our knowledge, and also believe that even the Western knowledge is just an addition to what we have.
But that you're grounded in your own indigenous knowledge and culture and
so
values.
that, as many speakers have said, a language is just a language, but the knowledge that are attached to our culture, which, if given a chance, they can help a community or organization to transform for better changes. Thank you so much. And nowadays in my new organization, we are using same approach in bringing the positive change or the change we want to see in our community. That is what we are doing. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to meeting Molly and all the Tostan team and the community of practice, where we are exchanging ideas on how we can help one another to bring the positive change we want to see in our community. Thank you everybody. I'm very much happy to be here, and I look forward to continue sharing to the best I can as we bring transformation to our world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Amos, for those humbling remarks. I would like to invite Selom Selom to share something, and then I'll give back the mic to Molly to kind of wrap up.
Est-ce que
And
vous
then
m'entendez? Moi, je parle en français.
Bonjour, ça va?
C'est bon?
Oui. Oui, vas-y.
Merci beaucoup, Madame Molly et les présentatrices. Moi, en fait, je suis du Togo. Je fais partie d'une organisation à la base et c'est grâce à Catalyst 2030 que j'ai connu Tostan hier et j'ai pu participer aujourd'hui à cet échange. Ma question, est-ce que c'est un réseau ou bien c'est une communauté de pratique, le Tostan? Est-ce un réseau? Est-ce une communauté de pratique? Quelles sont les zones d'intervention, par exemple? J'ai vu à peu près qui sont au niveau du Sénégal, au niveau du Mali, au niveau du Sahel, mais apparemment, je ne sais pas s'ils ont des chapitres au niveau des autres pays. Voilà un peu ma question. Merci beaucoup.
Merci, Salmon. Molly, are you
Yes,
here?
we are an international NGO, Salam, and you can get lots more information. Maybe we could have further talks with you on our organization. And yes, we are in 5 West African countries, but we do training. The people who are on this call are all in a community of practice, many of whom have come to the Tostan Training Center and have spent 10 days, and some have spent even more than that, together to learn about the key aspects of Tostan's program. So, we would welcome you to look into that also, about coming to be part of that, and in joining. It's open to everyone, the community of practice. Right. Juma?
Thank you so much, Molly. Yes, I'm here. Thank you so much, Molly. Thank you each and everyone for your contribution. And those of us who have been on the chat box, I can see we have lovely messages for Molly, and also lessons that we've learned. And I'll kind of read one of which has been shared, is that what I want to share here is from Molly's presentation and the community well-being is that we should be very conscious and aware of our entry point into our partners' communities. Oh my goodness, I've lost it. Sorry, I've really lost it. So I think, sorry, she was sharing that we really should be cognizant of the entry points that we do within the community, not to impose what we feel is right for the community, but really be part and parcel and associate the community with that. So, so I think this will bring us to the end of our session. And before we close it today, I would really love to invite Godfrey to wrap it up, and also for each and every one of us to open your camera so that we can be able to see you, your lovely faces, and say hi formally. Kindly turn on your cameras, please, please. Even if it's network problem, turn your camera on. Hi, Molly. Thank you so much for always sharing the learnings, your experience and expertise, and also just taking it from one generation to another. So I'm kind of one of the generation you nurtured, and I'll be passing it to another generation and to another generation, and so forth and so on. Thank you so much. I'm really humbled, and having you today is really a privilege and a pleasure to me. I'll invite Godfrey. Kindly, Godfrey, come in, and we wrap up our day. And thank you each and every one of us for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us, to learn with us, and also just sharing your experiences. We don't take that for granted, but we are here to learn and share by the end of the day. Not learning has no ending. There is no end to a learning process. Thank you so much.
Thank
Godfrey?
you very much, Majuma, for moderating this amazing session. Thank you, Molly, for always willing to share, and also inspires. As Majuma said, you inspire us every day. And we pray that God protect you and bless you and give you more energy to inspire more people. And to everyone who has joined this call, thank you for being here for 90 minutes. It's not easy. I've seen we've maintained the number that joined, still at 62. That is really amazing, and it shows that there's a lot of interest in this learning and sharing journey that we've started, that now we call the Conversation with Molly. So I just wanted to assure you that these conversations will continue. This was just the kickoff, and would really want your feedback and also your recommendations on which topics that we should be able to engaging and having conversations around in the upcoming Conversation with Molly. So we will let you know when next we'll be having the conversation, and also welcome your suggestions on the topic and area of discussions during this conversation. I don't want to take a lot of your time. I just want to thank you. And in case you are new on this channel, or you're new on Community of Practice calls, please check on our website at www.tostan.org to learn more, and also reach out to us. Karina has shared her email there. Nana also shared her email. Please feel free to reach out anytime, any day. We are always available to share more, because we believe in sharing for us to achieve community well-being. Asanteni sana, like we say in Kisumu and in Kenya. And may God bless you all. And see you soon. Jamrek.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
To all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you,
everyone.
Mama.
Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Asante
Thank you,
sana,
Molly.
Okumu.
Asante
Bye,
sana.
Okumu.
Asante sana.
Bye.
I
Bye.
was trying to see your text. I didn't see it.
Au revoir.
Au
revoir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Daddy Jeff. Bye. Daddy Jeff.
Thank you, Molly.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Nice to see you
Bye.
all.
Amos.
Look, Molly.
Yeah, thank you, my
Yeah.
Juma.
Thank you, Majuma. Yeah.
And
God
Nana.
see you too.
Thank you.